Hello, it's Chris from My Stamp Lady, and I'm here with this card with the Rooted in Nature bundle, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But I'm going to do some really fun things with showing you how the embossing and the die cutting work together for this particular card. And I have got the gorgeous designer series paper in the back. It is called Nature's Poem, and I've got a little piece of that too. Okay, so here's the bundle I was talking about. It's a two box set, meaning there are 16 stamps in all, and so Stampin' Up has put them into two of the thin cases, and it's a red rubber mount set. I love it. Great for masculine cards, but doesn't have to be. You can also use this for a card to have on hand or a feminine card. Okay, so that is the stamp set, and of course I've got a few of my dies pulled off of here ready to go for this card, but this is the die set. The 2018-2019 Stampin' Up! Catalog. If you purchase this bundle in there, you can get a discount, 10% off when you buy those together. Later, it may not be at the bundle price anymore. And then I'm also using the Stitched Shape Framelit dies, and they come with ovals, circles, and squares. One of the most versatile stamp sets or die sets that I have. I have all my paper cut for you already, or cut for me, I should say. Cut for me already. I will have all the sizes and the paper and links to them on my blog. And you can find the links to all of the supplies I use down in the information. So I am going to set these pieces aside. I will eventually be using all of those. And I'm going to start off with doing a little bit of stamping. So this is a piece of Pear Pizzazz, and this is a piece of Whisper White. I am going to stamp that tree image right there in Tranquil Tide, and then we'll just be doing a cutout. So I will cut out this tree. Nothing, there's nothing special about it. It's just really simple cutting out and with a die around it. So I'm not going to really do anything too spectacular with that. I'm going to stamp that off on some scrap paper. In the newest catalog, Stampin' Up has come out with this. It's called the Simply Chamois. I do love, 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 love this. I have gone to this exclusively. So what you saw me use there, when you buy it, it comes in a rectangle like this. And this is just a clear case that I had laying around, a clear extra case. You can buy them in the catalog, and that's what I'm storing it in. And I cut it into 3 pieces so that I can pick it up, especially for detailed, and then images, detailed stamps. And then I left one a little bit larger so I can tap on there. But I have found I have used it so much once I cut that apart like that. Well, I used it before that too, but I really used it once I've cut it apart. Okay, this is Mossy Meadow, and our new 2018-2019 stamp sets. I just about picked up the wrong image there. And I have a link to that. You should be able to find it down below and here in the video talking about these new stamp sets that I have, are the stamp pads. My gosh, I'm not remembering things. Look at how awesome this is. It does stain. You can see that it stains. It is damp with water. You don't need to add anything else. And I do shut it while I'm using it. I live in a fairly dry climate, so it dries fairly quickly, although today's really humid, so we're staying wet a little bit longer. But I let it dry out completely in between uses, and then it turns into like one of those like stiff foam things that you just wet, and then it's ready to go again. Okay, so with my regular pad, now the Big Shot, I use it all the time. It can be a little bit confusing though if you're not familiar with all of the different dies and plates. This is the magnetic platform, and this one is probably the one I use the most often because it, I'm testing to see, sorry, I'm interrupting myself. I am testing to see which one lays the flattest because I rotate my plates a lot. So this is the one I use the most often. And look at what I did. I went right to the center. It's better to use your edges and kind of move around your plates. Where did those dies? I use this most often. Getting back, see, I didn't forget where I was. Sometimes I do, but I didn't. Because it is magnetic and it holds the little dies in place when I'm running it through the Big Shot. Okay, so got that around that one. This is basic, just a die to cut around the shape I'm using. And that is what is awesome about the bundles, because no fussy cutting. I will do lots of things to avoid fussy cutting. Put another acrylic pad on top and run that through the Big Shot. I've cut those out. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to do something a little more with this down the road here, but first of all, I've already prepped my embossing dies here, and I need them kind of prepped for my next step. And then I'll get back to showing you what I can do a little bit more with that. Okay, so now I am going to emboss this paper. I have the Big Shot platform, and when you get your Big Shot, it comes like this with the platform and the thin die adapter. You do not need the thin die adapter right now, so I'm going to take that off. Put down my Big Shot platform, and then I have, here's an acrylic plate and my paper. I'm using a thick Whisper White paper because I found I got a better result. That's just it. You can use the regular, but I found I have a better result. So I have taped together these pieces, these 3 different dies, and they're going to do embossing. We're not cutting anything, we're embossing, but I need to flip that over so that I have it up above the cushion. So these dies are flipped over, facing up, put my paper, and now I'm using the embossing mats. I did a video that I'll link to below with the butterfly and the floral image that I use these, and talked a little bit more about them. I don't need this blue mat, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm using the thicker embossing mat, and I'm placing that over my little paper, and then this is the impressions plate. And I'm going to run this through the Big Shot. Okay, so once I take off, you can see that it's embossed. These dies are designed, they're designed so that they don't cut. They are designed to just emboss. And the area, I'm just picking it up carefully because I've taped it down with the washi tape, which isn't as strong as the other, but I don't want to rip my paper. I did manage to cut that a little bit, so what you can do is you can make sure that your tape is not so sticky by touching it to clothing, and so on. Okay, so I left them taped together because I want them to kind of be the same, kind of the same setup as I go around and make my background. It looks like the one's not even going to hit it, but okay, let's flip it over. Now this is going to flatten out that area that I have already embossed a little bit. Do this again and run it through again. Okay, so let's see, that was my last one. I've run that through, and this was washi tape I had not used before, so I'm going to gently pick it up. And if it starts to tear or pull up some of the paper, I'll go from a different direction and we'll pull that back. But the easiest way to not tear your paper or to pick up any of that paper is to pull it gently back. There we go. This is the thick Whisper White. I wanted to talk a little bit. I did it with regular white too. I found that the grooves from my plate showed through a little bit more on the white. So my plan is I'm going to order a new plate, a new acrylic plate that I only use for this type of embossing so that it stays fairly smooth. There's not cutting going into it. I don't know if the impressions from the dies shouldn't make a big difference, but if it does, we'll deal with that then. But right now, all of my plates look like this. They're well used. I rotate them to keep them flat. So I'm going to get another one that then I will hopefully get less of the grooves on there. This is done with regular white Whisper White. This was done with the thick Whisper White. I liked the thick Whisper White better because the grooves from my plate didn't quite show through. So I'm gonna have to retry that once I get a plate that doesn't have grooves. I'm gonna set this aside. This is my background. I just wanted that embossing from that background. And now, so this is the Pear Pizzazz one that I stamped. Have you kept up? I know I'm going through a lot here. I stamped it with Mossy Meadow onto Pear Pizzazz cardstock, cut it out. And now I have that die. It's flat. This is not designed to cut out, but I cut it out with the just kind of the frame, And then I'm going to, you still have to place it face up because you want your paper up against that mat, that little thick mat here. I want my paper up against that thick mat. So I've taped it down with washi tape so it doesn't move. I'm going to put the cover on and let's run that through the Big Shot. Okay, I'm back here. So I've run that through and it's lined up, carefully taken off. I've used this washi tape a few times now, so it shouldn't be so sticky. Masking tape will work. I would even recommend to kind of get some of your oils and some of the things on your masking tape so it's not quite as sticky. So what I've done, and I hope you can see it, what I've done is I've added that embossing and the texture even over that stamping. And here in real life, I can see it really well and it's gorgeous. It adds just a whole dimension to that. So you've seen a couple of ways to use these embossing dies that emboss only from that bundle and what you can do with them. I made a background and I did this particular leaf. Okay, so moving on, I have a soft suede piece of cardstock here. And I am going to just place this right down in the center with some glue. A fun way to use that designer paper is to just die cut it into different shapes. And then you can have just a decorative background. Okay, so let's see, I put that about there. I'm gonna just check here. This is where I'm going to stamp that sentiment. Make sure I have that, looks good about there. And then I think we'll just kind of glue that down there. Okay, so we'll put that down. So I know I kind of went off, you know, kind of random a little bit earlier, and I was asking if you thought this looked summery enough. And I don't know, sometimes I don't normally often pull out the leaves and the trees and stuff until fall. This Rooted in Nature set though, I love it. Love, 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 love it. From the minute I saw it, I was like, this is the stamp set that I want. Okay, so this is Blackberry Bliss. This came back. I'm so excited. This was an in color before. It's come back. Let's see, I want that about right here. And we can use it, or you know, you can order it again. You could always use it if you had the products, but it wasn't available for a while. So I'm excited. It's available again. And so clean that off. Show you how awesome this Simply Chamois works. You will want one of these. They are amazing. The ink, they get kind of ugly looking, but the ink does not come off and they are awesome. Okay, so I decided I stamped it a little too far over, so I re-stamped it a little further down and I like it better. So now this is my wrong side. I'm not putting glue on the wrong or the back side. And then I can just place this down. That's much better. And we'll put that down. So one of the things about these new ink pads though, look at that. I'm gonna have to sand that off with a little sander. I got ink on there. Okay, so one of the things about these new ink pads though, is it seems like they stay wet a little bit longer to me. I don't know, I could be wrong, but they just seem like they're a little bit wetter. Or you know what, I touch them more often with my fingers. I think that's it. The pad is, I'm getting used to them still, and I seem to touch them a little bit more often. Okay, let's get some glue on the back there. And then we'll just put this down here. Now, you might have heard me mention to sand that off. I'm gonna use just a little sanding block because it's white paper, and I'm gonna sand that little oops right off of there. Okay, here's my tree, and that's gonna go there, but I'm gonna put my thread around. I think the linen thread may actually come on a circle thing now, but, or you know, like a spool, so you don't get this. But mine was off of a card, so you get these little like fold spots. All you have to do with the Simply Chamois is you just press it into it like that. It gets it a little damp, and then that little kink will be gone. It's awesome. I mean, you can use water too, but I've done the little, just kind of push it into that chamois, get it damp, and you'll get rid of that little spot. Then you can adjust it if you want, if you don't like exactly where it is, but I'm gonna just trim off those tails. There we go. And now I want my tree on the front here. And where did it go? There it is. I am going to take and put some of those mini dimensionals on the back side because they pop up and make it stand up from the background. So I'll put a few of those, and then you know what? Even down here where the stem is kind of narrow. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors and just even cut myself just a really thin piece of the edge there to go over that trunk of the tree. Okay, and let's put that down. I want it to go under and over. Get that. See, it's a green tree, so we're still in the summer. Going back to my temperature thing here. Getting really warm. I shut the door so that you can't hear my kids, and I need to get it open back up. It's getting warm in this room. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Does the weather, other than Christmas time and holidays and stuff like that, does it affect your stamping and what you do? Definitely went with the greens rather than the fall colors. You are wonderful. So there is my card front. Still kind of playing with it. There's my card front. I'm going to stamp a little bit to make an inside. Add a little bit of these colors back in. Grab a piece of scrap paper because I want to stamp them off. I don't want these images quite as strong as they are full strength. So I've stamped that ink off onto scrap paper. Let's grab some Mossy Meadow. These little skeleton leaves are just perfect for this. It's a nice subtle inside. Do a little bit of Mossy Meadow here stamped off so that it can be just on the background. And now I've just added a little bit on that inside. And let's put down some liquid glue here and put that down. So I hope you learned something about how to use those embossing dies, the ones that don't cut. You might have wondered about that when you got them. What? These don't cut. Nope, they don't cut. But that's on the front. And there is my pretty inside. You are wonderful. So I've done some embossing on the front. There's embossing on that lovely piece and done a little bit on the inside. I hope you've learned something fun today. And let me know in the comments below about the weather where you are right now or how it affects your stamping. Thanks so much for watching. All the supplies are available in my online store at shopwithmystamplady.com. And if you have a question, Chris@mystamplady.com.